Two website presentation slideshow by Rob Nelson. For my two countries, I used El Salvador and the Czech Republic. Both were different in their own right, but also had some underlying similarities, culturally speaking. I tried to make my two websites for my business seem to truly approachable and user-friendly. The cultural framework scores for my two countries were: for power distance, El Salvador had a 66 and the Czech Republic had a 35. I took this to mean that El Salvador favors authority and a chain of command, whereas the Czech Republic is more laid back in this category. Individualism collectively, El Salvador scored 19 and the Czech Republic had a score of 60. I took this to mean that El Salvador is more group-oriented and the Czech Republic is more focused on individual goals. For masculinity and femininity, El Salvador had a score of 40 and the Czech Republic had a score of 45. This was a category where my two project countries were the closest in the cultural framework scores. I took this to signify that El Salvador and the Czech Republic were close to the median and could be ambitious and caring at the same time. In uncertainty avoidance, El Salvador had a score of 94 and the Czech Republic had a score of 60. I understood this to mean that El Salvador favors order, whereas the Czech Republic is more open. I really enjoyed learning about Hofstede's cultural framework score this semester. I truly believe that cultural frameworks should be used to design websites for companies based on cultural reach. It is a neat tool that should be utilized in several ways for marketing and advertising purposes. I tried to make my two websites with cultural undertones throughout. I also intended to make sure that anyone that stumbled onto these sites would know exactly what the company was about. Welding and fabrication and pretty much all things related to the metalworking industry. It's a very real passion of mine. I used images of current metalworking techniques and products to appear current in the industry. I also used images of construction style workers and job sites to seem down to earth and within reach to the average Joe. I also incorporated images of modern style construction and cityscapes to play on that size industry capability, kind of a world reach. I also used city scenes and modern designs to appear to have an international capability and business depth. I incorporated a welding logo image intended to be associated with the Nelson Welding and Fabrication brand. It appears throughout several slides. Many of these slide backgrounds are pictures actually taken from my website. All of the city pictures, gates, welding construction buildings, and workers were used on the sites. The assignments were the first time I've ever built a website. I did find it somewhat intimidating, especially at first in the early stages. I wanted visitors of the sites to get a true sense of what my business was to be about. Both sites are probably somewhat simple in design, but convey a sense of family value, honesty, and trust. This is the basics of what I wanted potential customers to take away from the Nelson and Welding and Fabrication sites. I related as best I could all the elements of the four dimensions of the cultural framework for my two countries. In the end, I wanted my possible customers to have trust in my company and know that the customer service was second to none. I wanted possible customers to truly feel that Nelson Welding and Fabrication will go above and beyond any expectations they might have for a business in the metal industry. That Nelson Welding and Fabrication will be second to none in quality, customer care, as well as support. That Nelson Welding and Fabrication is truly a name that can be trusted in the welding and fabrication industry worldwide. In conclusion, it is safe to say that this was a great learning experience for me. I have learned the importance of culturally framing a website to drum up possible customer interest in a company, especially for a website. It's great to know that cultural framing a website is not out of my reach moving forward and in the future. My two websites are available at the following two listed sites. Please feel free to visit them. Thank you. This has been a short presentation on my two